Saturday, June 20th, 1942. Dearest Kitty, let me get started right away. It's nice and quiet now. Father and Mother are out, and Margot has gone to play ping-pong with some other young people at her friend Tree's. I've been playing a lot of ping-pong myself lately, so much that 5 of us girls have formed a club. It's called the Little Dipper -2. A really silly name, but it's based on a mistake. We wanted to give our club a special name, and because there were 5 of us, we came up with the idea of the Little Dipper. We thought it consisted of 5 stars, but we turned out to be wrong. It was 7, like the Big Dipper, which explains the -2. Ilse Wagner has a ping-pong set, and the Wagners let us play in their big dining room whenever we want. Since we 5 ping-pong players like ice cream, especially in the summer, and since you get hot playing ping-pong, our games usually end with a visit to the nearest ice cream parlor that allows Jews, either Oasis or Delphi. We've long since stopped hunting around for our purses or money. Most of the time, it's so busy in Oasis that we manage to find a few generous young men of our acquaintance or an admirer to offer us more ice cream than we could eat in a week. You're probably a little surprised to hear me talking about admirers at such a tender age. Unfortunately, or not, as the case may be, this vice seems to be rampant at our school. As soon as a boy asks if he can bicycle home with me and we get to talking, 9 times out of 10 I can be sure he'll become enamored on the spot and won't let me out of his sight for a second. His ardor eventually cools, especially since I ignore his passionate glances and pedal blithely on my way. But if he gets so bad that I start rambling on about asking Father's permission, I swerve slightly on my bike, my school bag falls, and the young man feels obliged to get off his bike and hand it to me, by which time I've switched the conversation to another topic. These are the most innocent types. Of course, there are those who blow you kisses or try to take hold of your arm, but they're definitely knocking on the wrong door. I get off my bike and either refuse to make further use of their company or act as if I'm insulted and tell them in no uncertain terms to go on home without me. There you are. You now laid the basis for our friendship. Until tomorrow, yours, Anne. Sunday, June 21st, 1942. Dearest Kitty, our entire class is quaking in its boots. The reason, of course, is the upcoming meeting in which the teachers decide who'll be promoted to the next grade and who'll be kept back. Half the class is making bets, GZ, and I laugh ourselves sick at the 2 boys behind us, Ian and Jacques Cucurnoot, who have staked their entire vacation savings on their bet. From morning to night, it's "you're going to pass." "No, I'm not." "Yes, you are." "No, I'm not." Even G's pleading glances and my angry outbursts can't calm them down. If you ask me, there are so many dummies that about a quarter of the class should be kept back. But teachers are the most unpredictable creatures on earth. Maybe this time they'll be unpredictable in the right direction for a change. I'm not so worried about my girlfriends and myself. We'll make it. The only subject I'm not sure about is math, anyway. All we can do is wait. Until then, we keep telling each other not to lose heart. I get along pretty well with all my teachers. There are 9 of them, 7 men and 2 women. Mr. Kingsley, the old fogey who teaches math, was mad at me for the longest time because I talked so much. After several warnings, he assigned me extra homework, an essay on the subject, a chatterbox. A chatterbox. What can you write about that? I'd worry about that later, I decided. I jotted down the assignment in my notebook, tucked it in my bag, and tried to keep quiet. That evening, after I'd finished the rest of my homework, the note about the essay caught my eye. I began thinking about the subject while chewing the tip of my fountain pen. Anyone could ramble on about leaving big spaces between the words, but the trick was to come up with convincing arguments to prove the necessity of talking. I thought, and suddenly I had an idea. I wrote the 3 pages Mr. Kingsley had assigned me and was satisfied. I argued that talking is a female trait and that I would do my best to keep it under control, but that I would never be able to break myself of the habit, since my mother talked as much as I did, if not more, and that there's not much you can do about inherited traits. Mr. Kingsley had a good laugh at my arguments, but when I proceeded to talk my way through the next class, he assigned me a second essay. This time it was supposed to be an incorrigible chatterbox. I handed it in, and Mr. Kingsley had nothing to complain about for 2 whole classes. However, during the 3rd class, he'd finally had enough. Anne Frank, as punishment for talking in class, write an essay entitled "Quack, Quack, Quack," said Miss Chatterback. The class roared. I had to laugh, too, though I'd nearly exhausted my ingenuity on the topic of chatterboxes, it was time to come up with something else, something original. My friend Stan, who was good at poetry, offered to help me write the essay from beginning to end in verse. I jumped for joy. Keesing was trying to play a joke on me with his ridiculous subject, but I'd make sure the joke was on him. I finished my poem, and it was beautiful. It was about a mother duck and a father swan with 3 baby ducklings who were bitten to death by the father because they quacked too much. Luckily, Keesing took the joke the right way. He read the poem to the class, adding his own comments, and to several other classes as well. Since then, I've been allowed to talk and haven't been assigned any extra homework. On the contrary, Keesing's always making jokes these days. Yours, Anne. Wednesday, June 24th, 1942. Dearest Kitty, it's sweltering. Everyone is huffing and puffing, and in the heat I have to walk everywhere. Only now do I realize how pleasant a streetcar is. But we Jews are no longer allowed to make use of this luxury. Our own 2 feet are good enough for us. Yesterday, at lunchtime, I had an appointment with a dentist on Jean Luckin Street. It's a long way from our school on Sademester Urin. That afternoon, I nearly fell asleep at my desk. Fortunately, people automatically offer you something to drink. The dental assistant is really kind. The only mode of transportation left to us is the ferry. The ferryman at Joseph Ericad took us across when we asked him to. It's not the fault of the Dutch that we Jews are having such a bad time. I wish I didn't have to go to school. My bike was stolen during Easter vacation, and Father gave Mother's bike to some Christian friends for safekeeping. Thank goodness summer vacation is almost here. 1 more week, and our torment will be over. Something unexpected happened yesterday morning as I was passing the bicycle racks. I heard my name being called. I turned around, and there was the nice boy I had met the evening before at my friend Wilma's. He's Wilma's second cousin. I used to think Wilma was nice, which she is, but all she ever talks about is boys, and that gets to be a bore. He came toward me somewhat shyly and introduced himself as, "Hello, Schillenberg." I was a little surprised and wasn't sure what he wanted, but he didn't take me long to find out. He asked if I would allow him to accompany me to school. "As long as you're headed that way, I'll go with you," I said. And so we walked together. Hello, he's 16, and good at telling all kinds of funny stories. He was waiting for me again this morning, and I expect he will from now on. Wednesday, July 1st, 1942. Dearest Kitty, until today I honestly couldn't find the time to write you. I was with friends all day Thursday. We had company on Friday, and that's how it went until today. Hello and I have gotten to know each other very well this past week, and he's told me a lot about his life. He comes from Gerkenskiken and is living with his grandparents. His parents are in Belgium, but there's no way he can get there. Hello used to have a girlfriend named Ursula. I know her too. She's perfectly sweet and perfectly boring. Ever since he met me, Hello has realized that he's been falling asleep at Ursula's side. So I'm kind of a pep tonic, you know, what you're good for. Jacques spent Saturday night here. Sunday afternoon she was at Helene's and I was bored stiff. Hello was supposed to come over that evening, but he called around 6. I answered the phone. He said, "This is Helmuth Sturberg. May I please speak to Anne?" "Oh, hello. This is Anne." "Oh, hi, Anne. How are you?" "Fine, thanks. I just wanted to say I'm sorry, but I can't come tonight, though I would like to have a word with you. Is it all right if I come by and pick you up about 10 minutes? "Yes, it's fine. Bye-bye." "Okay, I'll be right over. Bye-bye." I hung up quickly, changed my clothes, and fixed my hair. I was so nervous. I leaned out the window to watch for him. He finally showed up. Miracle of miracles, I didn't rush down the stairs, but waited quietly until he rang the bell. I went down to open the door, and he got right to the point. "Anne, my grandmother thinks you're too young for me to be seeing you on a regular basis. She says I should be going to the Lodebucks, but you probably know that I'm not going out with Ursula anymore." "No, I didn't know. What happened? Did you two have a fight?" "No, nothing like that. I told Ursula that we weren't suited to each other, and so it was better for us not to go together anymore. But that she was welcome at my house, and I hoped I would be welcome at hers. Actually, I thought Ursula was hanging around with another boy, and I treated her as if she were, but that wasn't true. And then my uncle said I should apologize to her, but of course I didn't feel like it, and that's why I broke up with her. But that was just one of the reasons. Now my grandmother wants me to see Ursula and not you, but I don't agree, and I'm not going to. Sometimes old people have really old-fashioned ideas, but that doesn't mean I have to go along with them. I need my grandparents, but in a certain sense, they need me too. From now on, I'll be free on Wednesday evenings. You see, my grandparents made me sign up for a wood carving class, but actually I go to a club organized by the Zionists. My grandparents don't want me to go because they're anti-Zionist. I'm not a fanatic Zionist, but it interests me. Anyway, it's been such a mess lately that I'm planning to quit, so next Wednesday will be my last meeting. That means I can see you Wednesday evening, Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, Sunday afternoon, and maybe even more. But if your grandparents don't want you to, you shouldn't go behind their backs. All's fair in love and war. Just then, as we passed the Blank Rose bookstore, and there was Peter Schiff with 2 other boys. It was the first time he'd said hello to me in ages, and it really made me feel good. Monday evening, Hello came over to meet Father and Mother. I had bought a cake and some candy, and we had tea and cookies, the works, but neither Hello nor I felt like sitting stiffly on our chairs, so we went out for a walk, and he didn't deliver me to my door until 8:10. Father was furious. He said it was very wrong of me not to get home on time. I had to promise to be home by 10 to 8 in the future. I've been asked to Hello's on Saturday. Mama told me that one night when Hello was at her house, she asked him, "Who do you like best, Ursula or Anne?" He said, "It's none of your business." But as he was leaving, they hadn't talked to each other the rest of the evening. He said, "Well, I like Anne better, but don't tell anyone. Bye." And whoosh, he was out the door. In everything he says or does, I can see that Hello is in love with me, and it's kind of nice for a change. Margot would say that Hello is a decent sort. I think so too, but he's more than that. Mother is also full of praise. A good-looking boy, nice and polite. I'm glad he's popular with everyone, except with my girlfriends. He thinks they're very childish, and he's right about that. Jacques still teases me about him, but I'm not in love with him. Not really. It's all right for me to have boys as friends. Nobody minds. Mother is always asking me who I'm going to marry when I grow up, but I bet she'll never guess. It's Peter, because I talked her out of that idea myself, without batting an eye. I love Peter as I've never loved anyone, and I tell myself he's only going around with all those other girls to hide his feelings for me. Maybe he thinks Hello and I are in love with each other, which we're not. He's just a friend, or as Mother puts it, a beau. Yours, Anne.